Welcome to my dad's car. Enjoy!
Welcome to My Dad's Car, a podcast discussing our personal relationship with automotive nostalgia. And you know what? It doesn't even have to be about your dad's car. It can be your mum's, your grand's, your parents', guardians, or even a neighbour's. If it made an impression, let's talk about it.
How are we doing?
Hello.
You can hear me, I can hear you.
That's all that matters.
Hold that thought just a second. Someone's phoning me. I don't know whether it's this chap.
All right.
There he is.
Very fast.
That telephone call may or may not have had anything to do with Sam appearing on our chat.
Nice, Sam.
How are we doing?
Hi, gents. Really sorry about that. I was frantically searching through the wrong inbox, which is real schoolboy error. But
It happens. It's one of those things. I spent ages in a pub a few months ago, actually, with some friends, frantically looking for a discount voucher, much to the waitress's annoyance. And that was in the wrong inbox.
oh, they also get funny if you don't ask at the start of the meal for some reason. I don't know why that would make a difference, but they do often get funny about that.
Yeah.
Ends up expiring, Andy, by the time you find it.
Yeah, I got it in the end. But yeah, I did feel quite... There was three of us all going through phones looking for it. Well, and she was about 20 years our junior.
Right.
So we just felt like old men.
Yeah, sure.
Who were unable to use mobile phones.
I don't have that excuse, unfortunately, but...
Well, you don't have a phone, or you're not an old man?
well, bit of both, to be honest. I've deleted most of social media off my phone, so I feel very much out of the loop now. But it's a nice way to be, actually, once you get used to it. Yeah. I don't even read the news. I didn't even know about the whole general election thing until my mum told me. And I was like, oh, right, okay.
Nice.
Yeah, good way to be, I guess.
Off grid.
Yeah, sure.
So, yeah, quick one. We're joined by Sam White today, who you do something with watches. Do you want to kind of give yourself a quick introduction and a shout out?
Yeah, sure. Yeah. Thanks a lot for that opportunity. I mean, firstly, yeah, thanks a lot for having me on the podcast. My day job is as a mechanical engineer, which very much inspired by interesting cars and growing up with cars, but I'm sure we'll get on to that. And then on the side at the moment, I've founded a watch company with a friend, and we produce additively manufactured watches. So additive manufacturing is the sort of industry term for 3D printing.
Okay.
And we often use the words additive manufacturing because when you think 3D printing, you often associate it with sort of hobbyist desktop polymer-based printers, whereas we're doing metal 3D printing using a process called laser powder bed fusion, which is really interesting. And we produce the cases that way, and then we buy in the movements. We also have the dials manufactured here, and it all goes together in England. And then we're launching for general sale in a week, actually.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Nice.
Yeah. So, it's our first sort of big week. And as well as the additive manufacturing side of things, our other big thing is trying to be a British brand, but in the truest sense, and actually manufacture everything that we're able to manufacture in the UK, we do.
Nice. Whereabouts are you based, Sam?
I'm in Brixton at the moment.
Oh, okay. Right.
And then my mate who I founded it with is over in Earlsfield. So, yeah, we're nearby to each other. So, yeah, works out well.
Nice.
And yeah, where can people find you? And if they want to buy your watch, is it kind of online?
Sure. Yeah. Sorry, I missed the most important bit there. Thanks for that. Yeah, it's apiar.co.uk, and that's apiar.co.uk.
Cool. Does it mean anything, the word?
Yeah. So,
Complete tangent.
yeah, really, really good question. So with 3D printing or additive manufacturing, there's no need to print a completely solid part. So often they basically skeletonize solid parts, and it's known as latticing in industry. And we were thinking, where do they already do that? And as with lots of engineering things, nature has already done it and done it really well. So we sort of thought, oh, honeycomb is sort of a naturally occurring lattice. And then Latin for bee is apis.
Ah, yeah, okay.
We thought, we can't call our brand a piss. So Matt then thought, oh, well, apis, apiary, so we went with Apiar.
Cool.
Nice.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
And I think I got in touch with you through, was it Johnny at Classic Retrofit?
Yes. Yeah.
And he'd posted a picture up of your car.
Yeah.
Yeah, turns out it belonged to your father or your grandfather or something. And
yeah, my father. Yeah. I mean, the Porsche journey started with my grandfather, but yeah, that car was bought by my dad the same week I was born, actually. So it's a bit of a celebration.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, we'll get to that in a minute. Let's kick things off, shall we? And ask you what your earliest car memory is.
Ooh. I think it would probably be, and I don't know whether I actually remember this or if this is a bit of, I know this happened, and so manufacturing the memory, but probably falling asleep in the back of his 911. So if I couldn't sleep in the night, which makes no sense because the 911 is very loud, he would take me out in the 911. I'd go in the back seat there because obviously it's a 2+2, isn't it? And then just drift off there.
It's a much more enjoyable task when you've got a 911 versus like a Zafira or something like that, isn't it? I reckon.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. And then as well as that, probably there was this road near my house where I grew up, and we called it Wolf Wood, which didn't make much sense because there were no wolves there. But anyway, when you're a young kid, this road goes straight through some dense woodland on either side.
Okay.
So we sort of imagined, there's probably wolves there at night. And anyway, so we called it Wolfwood. And that road is arrow straight, 60 miles an hour. And when they re-tarmacked it, it was just perfect. And it was being in the back of the car with the roof off and Dad just absolutely flooring it, 6,000 RPM every gear. That was incredible. That was absolutely incredible.
So obviously you drew reference to the Porsche.
Yeah.
It's a cabriolet, is it, or a Targa?
Targa, yeah, Targa.
Okay.
73 T, but we've done quite a lot to it. Yeah, it's no longer just a standard T.
And what colour?
Yellow.
Oh, cool.
I think I'm trying to remember if it's sunset yellow or canary yellow. I definitely should know that. I'm earing towards the latter.
And was that the family car? Or did you have a kind of a sensible sort of car? Because obviously, clever dad chooses to take you around the block. It's
Sure.
a Porsche, obviously, to drift you
Sure.
off. But yeah, was there a Cortina or a Cavalier or whatever on the driveway as the...
I think he tried to make it the family car. I don't think that worked out because Mum would often, with starting it, you sort of have to give it a little bit of gas because obviously Weber carbs don't have a choke. So you get over that by giving it a bit of gas, and she would sometimes overdo it, which would flood it. So we tried that, and then that didn't quite work out. So I think from my grandpa, it was a green Vauxhall Astra. I think it was an Astra.
Okay.
But yeah, that was the family car. And then what was great was my mum worked for Avis Car Rental.
Okay.
So she effectively got a new car every 6 months.
Nice.
Which for me, loving cars as a kid was incredible.
Was it just yourself in the back, Sam, on sort of journeys and stuff? Have you got any brothers or sisters?
Younger brother, yeah, he's 3 years younger.
Okay.
It's funny actually. When I think back to it, I think it was mainly just Dad and me. My brother Aaron was always sort of interested, but not quite as obsessed. So I think it was mainly just the two of us. And to answer your initial question, the family car was probably Vauxhall.
Fair enough. And what was your dad doing? What was his role? Did he drive for work or?
He commuted in it for the first few years, but mainly it was just him doing little jobs on it on the weekends, which Mum really wasn't happy about because obviously he bought it the week I was born. So when he should have been looking after me, he was under his car, which is sort of a classic, sort of story, imagine. But yeah, that was very much the case.
Yeah.
And he was slowly doing jobs on it, but then realised he was a bit out of his depth. And there was someone who lived literally 5-minute walk, a chap called Laurie Davidson. And one morning he was walking past my dad just as he was getting the car out to go to work.
Okay.
And they sort of struck up a conversation. It turns out Laurie had his own 911 and was also a really competent bodywork guy. So then he slowly took it right back to its shell and restored it.
Nice.
I think it took a couple of years.
Yeah.
And then Chris Turner, who was big in DDK, sadly no longer with us, he had a garage in near Willesden Junction, and then he did a lot of the engine side.
Was it just kind of thinking, had he already got this deal lined up prior to you being born? It just so happened he picked it up the week later, or he was twiddling his thumbs at home on paternity leave and was like, oh, I'm going to buy a car.
I think it was probably the latter. Yeah, I think he was sort of thinking about it and then had that sudden realization, oh my word, I'm going to have a child. I'm going to not be able to do loads of things that I want to do. This is my last chance to really go and buy something and not get in huge amounts of trouble, and just went for it.
Do you know if you were overdue or premature at all, Sam?
Oh, that's a good question. I think I think a little bit overdue. Because I remember being. I mean, this is really getting into it.
I bet your dad was looking at the calendar, wasn't he? He's like, oh my God.
Yeah. I think overdue. I think I was quite heavy. So yeah, probably overdue. Yeah.
It's not a question we always ask, that one.
Yeah. Well, I see the relevance, definitely.
Do you know where he got it from? I'm guessing it wasn't new when he bought it.
So it was over in Italy.
He didn't go to Italy as well.
No.
Sorry, enough. I'm off. Just got to get a car.
No, he couldn't quite swing that one. No. So as I understand it, it was owned by a lady in Italy who used it as her daily. And I think she spec'd it out quite well when she first bought it. So he went for the Targa, had a lot of specs. And I think that was more of a sort of daily driver for her. And then it went from her to, I don't want to say a racing team, but there are quite a few photos that he has of it, with various liveries on. So it had done some sort of racing. And then Nick Four, who I think is an ex-Porsche Works driver. I don't want to be quoted on that, but had some sort of background in motorsport. I think after being a motorsport driver, he went into import and export of Porsches and found the car over in Italy, exported it over to the UK, and then Dad bought it off Nick Four.
Okay.
Presumably this would be a left-hand drive vehicle, would it? If it's
exactly. Yeah.
Cool.
But it's been all right. It makes overtaking a little bit tricky. I mean, if I've got my brother riding shotgun, then I tend to trust him. But if I'm taking someone else out for a drive, I don't risk the overtakes.
And is your father still around?
Yes. Yeah. So it's odd actually, because he had a huge amount of enjoyment out of it over the years. Drove it all the time. Absolutely loved it, but he always said, well, Sam, it will go to you and your brother, which is so kind. And, we worked on the weekends, but it was always a view to, as soon as you turn 18, Sam, as soon as you can get insurance on it, you're going to be driving it and it will be effectively yours.
Wow.
And he's absolutely stuck to that promise, which is hugely appreciated. So he hardly ever drives it now. I obviously keep it at my parents' house, but I'm the main driver of it, which is amazing.
That's cool.
Has he ended up with other toys? Has he kind of got other stuff to kind of mess about with?
Yeah, so he's got a little 125 Motor Guzzi bike. So he does little bits and bobs on that, but he's not got like a big project yet, which he's very much, if I'm ever at my parents' house when we're watching TV, I can see him on his phone. And at the moment, his big thing is he wants to get a 904 kit car.
Okay.
Something like 904 replica, or I always forget the model number, not the Berg Spider.
718 or 550?
718, I think.
The 718's a bit sort of shorty and pointy.
Yeah, or a replica of that. And I think the dream is he and Mum are going to move a bit further out, get a proper double garage, because at the minute we've got quite a small single garage, get a proper double garage. And then I can go down on every other weekend and he and I can work on that sort of replica together, or a kit car or something like that.
Cool.
Nice.
Sounds like fun.
Yeah. Really looking forward to it. Yeah.
So let's go back to the Vauxhall Astra.
Yeah.
And you're in the car. Yeah, obviously your mum drove. Did she have the radio on or tapes or whatever?
Well, it was always exciting to go with Dad because we were allowed to have the music a lot louder.
Okay.
And I remember my mum would never want the music on because she'd be, trying to concentrate or whatever, and didn't want to get any crashes with the kids in the car. She's quite a careful driver. And I remember I got a lift back with one of my mates' mums when I was at school, and she would let them blare out the music. And I was like, why doesn't my mum? And they gave me chewing gum as well. So I got to have chewing gum for the first time. Blare out, I don't know, whatever it was, probably S Club 7 or something.
Take your seatbelts off, boys. Yeah.
Sit in the boot.
Yeah. I couldn't believe it.
Want to drive?
Yeah. And then I go back to my mum, and it's like, child seats, everything strapped in, all very, wasn't allowed in the front, even with a child seat, and all very, straight-laced. So Dad was always the one where we could really, turn the music up, have a bit more fun. He'd drive a bit quicker, that sort of stuff.
Nice.
So, yeah, your mum went through a spate of cars. Did the Porsche kind of have a period of time where that wasn't kind of your dad's car? So has he kind of parked that up and kind of got something as a sensible driver, or? Not
really. He's quite an impatient driver at times, so I don't think he really likes driving for, what's the word? What would be the opposite of pleasure? Utility?
Yes, so yeah, necessity, that's the word.
Necessity, there we go. Yeah, so he would sort of, during the week, like most people live in home counties, would be on the train all the time. So I think come the weekend, if he was going to be on the roads, it would absolutely be in his 911, and it would be at a decent time, no rush hour, and that would be sort of like his special time to relax. So he pretty much avoided it at all costs.
Has it got quite a few miles on it then, that Porsche, Sam?
Yeah. It's trying to think pre-rebuild. It was definitely in the hundreds of thousands. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
I think it was 150,000 or something like that. But then that would have been kilometers.
Mm.
And it was since reset after it was rebuilt. It's currently about 50,000 kilometers, but the little plastic gear on the odometer was broken for quite a while. And I was a bit slow at getting that fixed. So it's probably about 3,000 more, which is obviously an issue if you're going to sell it. You know, that needs to be accurate, but I will never, ever sell it. So yeah, the odometer breaks. Who cares really?
Mm.
Any memorable journeys kind of as a family in the car? Doesn't necessarily have to be the 911 as such, or maybe after the Astras or...
I've got a story that always sticks to my mind because I just think it's so ridiculous. I wasn't actually in the car, but when my dad was younger, my granddad bought a 928, brand new.
Nice.
And for him, that was, absolute dream come true. Like, apparently the 928 at the time was pretty much the pinnacle of almost like a supercar at the time.
It was European Car of the Year in 1978.
Right.
I think the only time Porsche's been Car of the Year.
Oh, really? Oh, cool.
And obviously brought in as replacement to the 911. So yeah, it was big news.
Awesome. Well, I'm not surprised. I mean, as I understand it, they're incredible cars, just a little bit over-engineered. So nowadays, they're kind of a nightmare to maintain. But anyway, yeah, so I had one of those, and then they'd had it for a few months, and my grandpa went to take it up the drive, and it was snowing or icy or something, and it wouldn't go up the drive. And he took it down to the dealership, really wound up, and the dealership understandably said, you've bought a 928 here. This is not designed for going up a drive in the winter. If you want it to do that, we can sell you some winter tires.
Was it an auto?
Oh, I don't know. Yeah, I should find out.
Because I'm pretty sure rule of thumb in the snow is if you've got an auto, just stay indoors, really.
Yeah.
A lot of them are 928s.
Yeah.
I mean, it does seem ridiculous expecting it to do that. But anyway, and he got so wound up that he had to buy extra tyres that he sold it back to the dealership the next day.
I know.
But I think that's probably why my dad was so intent on then getting a 911, just to sort of fill that void.
So was your dad sort of strongly influenced by his dad then, presumably, with the car thing?
Yeah, I'd say so. I think, I don't know if Grandpa was a massive petrol head, but I think he always had sort of, fairly nice cars, Jags, Porsches, that sort of stuff. So I think that probably led to it. Unfortunately, now he's not as interested in cars because he's got a huge barn. And you can just imagine like the cars that he could have if that was his thing, but it's not. But yeah, I think it probably definitely influenced my dad. Yeah.
Fantastic. Do you remember kids at schools with interesting vehicles?
Yes. Yeah. There was, my best friend at primary school, his mum had a Scirocco, and that was really cool. And actually, my mum had a Scirocco a few years back, and I cannot understand why VW have discontinued it. I think they are excellent cars.
Is this the new shape Sirocco or old Scirocco?
I think it would have been, so it probably would have been when I was about 10, I want to say. So it's probably the newer shape by that point.
Or the older one almost looks a bit like a DeLorean from Back to the Future.
Right.
Like kind of square and angular from the 80s.
A bit like a Stratos or something like that, or not quite that.
Slightly bigger. Obviously, the newer ones are a lot more rounded.
Yeah.
I didn't know that they'd tinned it. Is that just due to a lack of sales then, I assume?
I guess it must be, yeah. I never looked into it much, but I think they've canned it. I mean, I guess maybe it didn't make sense so much in the context of the whole VW lineup. I guess with the Golf, they've got so many trim levels now, haven't they? It probably fills that kind of...
What's the term that you use on it, Andy, for Scirocco? It's the cousin of the Golf or something like that, or I forget what you call it.
It's a Golf in a tracksuit.
That's brilliant.
Yeah, the Mark 1 and Mark 2 Sirocco. So Mark 1 Sirocco came out in 74, I think. And the Sirocco actually came out before the Golf, about 6 months before, effectively as a test bed. It had basically the Golf running gear underneath. It just looked a bit sort of jazzier on the top. And then, even the Mark 2 Sirocco, which ran till 92, I think, that still had the same underpinnings as the Mark 1 Golf. It just looked kind of a little bit sportier, and you drive them kind of lying down. They're quite interesting to drive.
My cousin had one, and he was 6'4", I think he kind of had to sort of tilt his head as he drove it because there was just such a lack of headroom.
Yeah, quite fun.
It does surprise me actually with the old 911s. Like I'm not tall at all, really. I'm 5'8" if I'm being generous. And when I sit in the 911, my head's almost above the seat, which does surprise me because I always thought that Germans were quite tall. I guess back in the 70s, it's not that long ago. So I think we were all pretty similar heights back then.
You probably got quite small headrests on those as well.
Yeah.
And cars of that period, if it's a 73 car, kind of the Golfs, for example, didn't even have headrests.
Right.
So if you'd have had a whiplash injury, you'd have just lost your head. It'd just gone backwards and not come back again.
Right.
So
yeah,
they kind of worked their way through with sort of shorter headrests, and then kind of headrests that got bigger and bigger as the time's gone past.
That reminds me, actually, I remember at uni when we were learning about automotive design, and we were learning that actually before they had universal joints on the steering column was effectively just a shaft of metal.
Yeah.
So it would be a spear in a serious collision.
It just impale you, yeah.
Yeah.
Jeez.
And that's why they introduced the universal joints and then had it sort of meander a bit on its way up so that it would crumple in a collision rather than just spear you straight through the chest.
Yeah.
Amazing to think that you could just build a car back then with no real sort of thought to safety.
Yeah.
We just build it. And...
Yeah.
With a lot of the older cars, even if the steering column didn't get you, kind of the wheels made out of wood and metal, and you just kind of face plant that instead. And we're, from a safety point of view, spoiled, aren't we now? Right?
Sure.
Wrapped in bubble wrap and airbags and...
Yeah, it's no fun anymore, is it?
No.
Padding and everything.
Cheating, really, isn't it? All this safety stuff.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
If we go back, so I was going to say about when we touched on music that your dad had blaring out. Can you remember what any of that was, or was the radio on at all? Maybe some sport and that sort of thing, or anything?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, never really sport, I don't think, and it was never really radio shows. Like it was always, I can't remember if it was radio or albums, but the one that definitely sticks out is Red Hot Chili Peppers, because he got me a little. You know, like the little CD players that were portable.
Yeah.
I can't remember what the names was, but yeah, he got me that.
Discman.
There we go.
Yeah.
It was what Sony called them, yeah.
Thanks. Yeah, so I had one of those, and then the first album he bought me was Red Hot Chili Peppers. Is it Californication? Or is that a single I'm thinking of?
There might have been an album by the same name.
Yeah, I can't remember.
I'm not a huge fan, but...
No, me either. We're talking about around sort of year 2000, aren't we, I'd say, with that?
Yeah. So anyway, yes, it was that album, and that would go straight from my little disc player thing into the car. And then the other one was Nirvana, and that was the album cover, you know, with the baby in the swimming pool.
Yeah.
And my favourite song, I mean, it's pretty much the song you think of when you think of Nirvana, but Smells Like Teen Spirit. That was incredible. Yeah.
Has the Porsche got a cassette player or anything like that in it?
No, it might have done when I was really young, but then it went to just your standard like radio, but like a classic themed aftermarket one. And then after that, it went to, I remember Porsche brought out, I can't remember if they called it Tequipment or something like that. But anyway, it was this aftermarket media player thing for the older cars that they would install for you. And that sort of had like a tiny little screen on. And then it would also fold forward, and then you could put a CD in.
Oh, okay.
And you could get Bluetooth on it, radio. You could even make calls on it, which was pretty cool.
Nice.
Hands-free calls.
I suppose majority of the time it's just roof off and listen to the sweet sound of the engine, isn't it?
Oh yeah. And that's the main. I'd say that's my favourite part about the car is the sound. Really, we've got a bit of a unorthodox exhaust on that not everybody approves of, but it's good fun. It's got 6 pipes.
Oh, really?
Wow.
Yeah. It's funny. I sometimes Google the number plate XGF 98M, and they normally come up when I Google that. Because whenever I take it to a car event, people think, oh my word, this exhaust is so stupid. Take a picture of it. And then it's normally on some forum somewhere. So yeah, if you want to see it, just search that up.
Do you know the story behind it? Is this your father's doing, or was this before he got it? Or
Well, yeah,
I'm just imagining almost like a set of pan pipes poking out on.
Yeah.
Probably got them fitted the week your brother was being born, wasn't
he? Yeah. I mean, which would make sense because I think he was quite a loud kid. So yeah, probably. So we thought it was an Answer exhaust, but I don't think it is. I think it's actually I think if you're Italian, Abarth, or if you're English, Abarth.
Yeah.
And I only know that because I posted it in the DDK forum, and someone had a brochure from when Abarth were making aftermarket exhausts, one of which was 4.911, and it looks like it might have been one of those.
Okay.
And there's one other chap in California who has the same exhaust.
That's where the internet's really good, isn't it? Stuff like that.
I know Bath did. They did exhausts for Beetles actually, and probably 356.
Okay.
So the Beetle ones were 4-tip,
Right.
so it would make sense that they added extra pipes for additional cylinders. So
Yeah.
I guess it's definitely a talking point, isn't it? And
Definitely.
yeah, it might not be, I guess, to modern taste, but
No.
kind of a cool thing to keep on the car because no one else has got one.
And it's just the sound. You might think it's all for show because the 6 pipes don't go to individual cylinders. It's kind of the 6 little tailpipes, then go into a drum.
Oh, okay.
That's fairly similar to the standard exhaust. And then from that, you've got the usual 2 pipes going into the bits near the heat exchangers.
The cylinders, yeah.
But it's hard to pin the performance gains to specifically the exhaust because there have been other things that have been done, but it's certainly adding some performance. And the sound is just incredible. When it reaches to about 4,000 RPM, it kind of goes up an octave a bit. And there's nothing. The closest exhaust I've managed to find is by Scart, a French company.
Okay.
That's the closest I've been able to find in terms of sound. But I'd say it's completely unique.
Cool.
Brilliant. You have to send Andy some pictures.
Oh yeah,
Look
definitely.
forward to seeing it. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, sounds good. So yeah, any other friends with cars of interest or neighbours perhaps?
Yes, yeah, neighbours, yeah. There's
Still on speaking terms with the neighbours with that 6-pipe construction.
I think when my dad used to commute, he used to commute at 5 a.m. and that was a bit of a joke. And the neighbours did sort of speak to my mum, was like, sort it out.
Really?
Yeah.
I know some motorcyclists, they'll sort of roll their bike out of the closest one, won't they, if it's too early? You can't really do that, I suppose, with a Porsche.
No. So, yeah, then he did start getting the train. Yeah, so you're exactly right. I mean, it was as soon as that exhaust went on, it was just taking the mick, you know. And I guess when you put an exhaust on like that, you can't claim it as a commuter car anymore. Like you've got no leg to stand on.
No.
But there was a chap with an AC Cobra, not an original, but an AC Cobra kit car nearby.
Okay.
And that was quite cool because his drive, I remember, has like a really thick hedge. And then when he came out, you'd like hear the engine start, and then you put these little wooden, you know, like sort of ramps to bridge between the curb and the tarmac.
Yeah.
And then you just slowly see the back of it like emerging out the hedge and then going down these. And that was always like, that was really cool.
What colour was it?
Blue.
Oh, yeah.
A good friend of mine, his dad's got one actually, a blue Cobra or kit, but yeah, nice one. He's taken me out on it before. He gets to borrow it off his dad sometimes, and yeah, you just watch the fuel gauge go down. It makes a great noise.
Probably another one to annoy the neighbours, isn't it? Really, yeah. A Cobra.
At least it, you know, gave us someone else to pin the blame on.
Yeah.
And I guess to us, a flat six compared to a V8 is, you know, you can't mistake them. But I guess to most people, it's just noise.
Noise, yeah.
Definitely.
So that would be the main. I mean, tractors. I've got a few tractor stories.
How did you get involved with tractors?
A friend of mine has a farm up in Northumberland, and we went up there about a year and a half ago. And her dad was, you know, sort of said, "Sam, you know, you're an engineer. You should sort of know your way around these things now. Keys in the ignition. Just go and have fun with it." So amazing. So I sort of had free range of I don't know what model it is, but it was a big Massey Ferguson tractor.
Nice.
And that was awesome. that was brilliant. And then
one to tick off, isn't it?
yeah. I don't know why my brain went there, but we had one near miss in it. But other than that, it was successful. Yeah.
Was this off-road completely, or did you take it out on the open road?
All off-road, yeah.
Oh, okay.
And it was sort of started out in fairly flat fields, but then there was, I don't know if you'd call it like the moors, but, you know, fairly uneven terrain. And about a mile from the farm, there was an old school, like abandoned school ruins, and we were going to go and drive over to there. But there was about 6 of us, so they all went in the trailer in the back. And then I drove the tractor at the front.
Okay.
And her dad sort of warned me, he's like, you know, the brakes aren't great. They're all right, but, you know, just watch out because they're not great. And then because of that, a lot of the braking, I had to use the low range. But I remember as we came over the brow of a hill, I didn't put it into low range soon enough.
Oh no.
So literally, as we went over the crest, I was in neutral going between high range and no range. Obviously, then there's no resistance. It sort of got away from me a bit. And then I was going too fast to get it into low range. And that was seriously scary.
Sounds terrifying.
I think that's probably one of the scariest automotive moments I've ever had in my life. But it worked out all right. The brakes obviously were not great, but not terrible. So
Okay. What was at the other end if you weren't going to stop in time? Just to...
An old school.
yeah, it was, and already ruined. So
Jeez.
it was just lots of bumps. Trying to think how you describe it. Not sort of moorland, like sort of like heath.
Is it a tractor with like a cabin, Sam? Or
Yes.
Oh, okay, right.
Yeah. This was a big one.
Right.
And what did the passengers make of this? Did they think you were just winding them up?
Lots of screams.
Did they know you were scared, or did they think you were just kind of having some fun?
I guess it feels like you're going a lot faster than you are as well, with all the bumps and the noise.
Yeah, obviously the trailer had no suspension or anything, so I mean, there were a few screams, but I don't know if it was like, oh, we're having fun on a roller coaster kind of screams, or oh my gosh, we're going to die sort of screams. But I mean, all's well that ends well, right? And we made it to the school and we made it back. So
did everyone walk back, or were they happy to get on there?
Safe to say, after that trip, no one got in a tractor with me again.
I think that's a cool place to leave it. So
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Sam.
Brilliant.
Been good fun. Yeah, some nice stories.
Thanks a lot for having me. Yeah.
Thanks, Sam.
Been brilliant. Yeah.
And best of luck with the watch launch.
Thank you.
I'd love to say we'll get this episode out for next week to kind of coincide with it, but I've got loads of episodes to edit. It won't happen, but
Unless you want to hold your launch back by 2 months or something.
No, I'm sure it will all line up, and I don't think we're gonna sell out that quickly. So, I mean, if we did, amazing, but I'm sure it will, at the time the podcast comes out, it'll still be very much relevant. Yeah.
Cool. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Sam.
Thanks very much. Cheers. Great chatting to you. Bye.
Cheers. Bye.
Cool. There we go.
Very good.
Short and sweet, that one.
Yeah. There's some fairly unique tales in there, wasn't there? A bit of tractor driving and whatnot.
Yeah, the tractor story was kind of not particularly my dad's related, was it? Or nostalgia as such, but
definitely worth a mention. Yeah.
I nearly killed my friends in a tractor accident. Yeah. But yeah, some nice stuff in there. I think he must be a bit younger than us.
Yeah.
When kind of talking about other stuff.
Judging by the music and
yeah, true.
Non-Mark 1 and Mark 2 Sciroccos.
Yes.
Yeah.
But yeah, some nice stuff in there. Obviously, kind of focused quite a lot on the 911, but I think that's quite a cool story that, yeah, his dad went out and bought it the week after he was born.
Yeah.
And, yeah, some nice stuff. And obviously, yeah, a shout out for the Vauxhall Astra.
And yeah, shout out to the watch production.
Oh, yeah, indeed. Yeah, for the whole watch game. So, yeah, we'll obviously tag that. Was it Apiar Watches? Something like that, wasn't it?
Yeah. Something to do with French for B.
Indeed. So, yeah, there we go. Nice little episode. Yeah, thanks, Sam, for joining us.
Cool. All right, mate.
Have a good one.
You too.
And wrap it up. Roll the credits.
Thank you for listening to My Dad's Car. I hope you enjoyed the show. Please support us. Buy us a coffee and subscribe. And tell all your friends.